What is going on? I'm your host, Stacey Cole Morgan, and you are listening to the Morgan Man Sports Podcast here on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasting from. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about the Atlanta Reign, the Atlanta FaZe, and the Atlanta Falcons and their schedule release from this past Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, with my initial reactions to the schedule and what I think the overall record will be for the Atlanta Falcons in the 2022 NFL season. So without any further delay, let's go get straight into today's action. Alright guys, so this is going to be a quick recap right here, but the Atlanta Reign did fall to the Washington Justice here in the Overwatch League for Week 2 action. 3-0 again against the Washington Justice, and the Atlanta Reign is looking to bounce back against the Vancouver Titans this coming Sunday in Week 3 action for the Overwatch League. Definitely that was not a pretty match for the Atlanta Reign. Yes, they did have a few little highlights here and there, but still at the end of the day, did not get the job done against the Justice, and now we move on with our win-loss record now sitting at 2-1 in the entire season. Now moving on to the Atlanta FaZe. The Atlanta FaZe did have a great series against the New York Subliners, and a player I do want to highlight is Simp from the Atlanta FaZe. So Simp versus New York, 1.23 overall KD, which is a 33-28 on Berlin Hardpoint, which is a 1.18 KD, 31-17 on Gavatu Control, 1.82 KD, and overall is a 97 total kill count in the 4-map series. And my question I ask you is, do you think Simp is back to MVP form? Me personally, I think so. This is a great stepping stone for Simp. He has been struggling a little bit throughout the entire season thus far, but this All-Star break definitely gave him a good time to really rest, kind of like, come up with some new schemes and whatnot like that for his overall play style. So again, 97 total kills in the 4-map series against the New York Subliners. And again, I ask you guys, do you think Simp is back to his MVP form? My Twitter is in the description below for you guys to check that out and leave me that reply. So now we are moving on to the Major 3 Week 2 qualifiers for the Atlanta FaZe. And we start off against the Boston Breach, ladies and gentlemen. And let me tell you, the Boston Breach is a team that you really do not want to mess with right now because they have been on a roll here lately themselves. So this is the overall team stats for the Atlanta FaZe for just the Major 3 qualifier. So for Hardpoint, kills per 10 minutes, you got 101.5 for Hardpoint. Overall KD is a 1.09. Engagements is 194.7. Deaths per 10 minutes is a 93.2. Number of maps is 2. aBeZy does lead in the hardpoint statistics for the Atlanta FaZe, sitting at that 29.1 for kills per 10 minutes, and an overall KD of, Celium is actually the leader in the overall KD, sitting at a 1.21. So again, that role change between him and Arcides is definitely helping. Search and Destroy overall team kills per round is 2.73. First blood rounds is 36.4 percentage. So it is lower from other majors. Overall KD is a 1.07. Engagement 5.27. Deaths per 10 minutes. Deaths per round is 2.55, and number of SNDs is just 1. And your overall KD player for that one is Arcides, sitting at a 1.67. So definitely your Arcides pickup from 2 years ago has definitely still been improving over Major Maniac in the Search and Destroy category. Control, overall team kills per 10 minutes is 85.2. Overall KD is a 1.23. Engagements 154.8. Deaths per 10 minutes 69.6. And only one control map. And your overall KD leader for control thus far in the Major 3 qualifiers is Simp for control, and it's sitting at a 1.82. And that is really good, ladies and gentlemen, to have, one of the Tiny Terrors go on a rampage, especially in Control, where the Atlanta FaZe is a toss-up team in the Control series. Definitely is a good hardpoint team, and here lately has been a toss-up in S&D. Like this past weekend, I was really nervous for the Atlanta FaZe when they were down 4-0 and already down, one map against the New York Subliners. But again, the boys in the red and black came in clutch, made it look easy, and won that search and destroy, Control, and another hardpoint to take that series 3-win over the New York Subliners. So that will be your stats going into the Boston Breach series matchup right there, ladies and gentlemen. And the OpTic Texas versus Atlanta rivalry will continue this Sunday. Now, me personally, I'm looking at OpTic possibly winning this one again. But Atlanta has been pretty decent here lately again. And I think the second half is where the Atlanta FaZe really shines. Modern Warfare season, it took the second half of the season right there to really get things going. Cold War season, everybody was trying to write the Atlanta FaZe off at the first half and then, partially through that second half. But whenever that major 4 or 5 hit, boom, the Atlanta FaZe was just untouchable then. And I feel like that's what's going to happen here. Not necessarily this Sunday against OpTic, but I think here very soon, because now we're getting into championship mode. Like, this is the time to start winning if you are the Paris Legion, Seattle Surge, the Minnesota Rocker, whoever. This is the time to start winning now. And that's what the Atlanta FaZe is looking at right now, because we do currently sit number 1 in total CDL points, and we'd like to keep it that way. Even though we don't get really much of an advantage for Championship Sunday or the entire playoffs, we would still like to keep it that way, to be that number 1 team and show the rest of the teams that, hey, look, we struggled at the first half of the season, but look at us now. We're better than you. So, I'm not going to say the words, but you'd already know what I'm talking about. So that will be your series matchup for the Atlanta squads this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Again, the Vancouver Titans will take up against the Atlanta Reign in Week 3 action, and Boston Breach and OpTic Texas are the Atlanta FaZe's opponents for the Major 3 Week 2 qualifiers. All right, so now we are moving on over, ladies and gentlemen, to the Atlanta Falcons 2022 NFL season schedule. So no times have been set for the preseason games, but we will be facing the Detroit Lions and the New York Jets at their stadiums for the preseason. Pretty sure it's going to be, like late August. To be discussed for preseason game 1 against the Lions, but now August 22nd will be the New York Jets game at 8 p.m. that night. And we'll be having a nationally televised game for preseason number 3 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So that is your preseason games right there. And now for your regular season. Week 1, you got the nasty Saints coming to Atlanta. I definitely feel like that's a W right there, right off the bat. And for weeks 2 and 3, we're staying pretty much on the West Coast, ladies and gentlemen. Week 2, we're facing off against the Super Bowl champs, the Los Angeles Rams. That's September 18th at 4:05. Then week 3, we're going up to Seattle, Washington to face the Seattle Seahawks at 4:25. That's September 25th. Then we come back home week 4 against the Cleveland Browns. I was going to say the Cleveland Cavaliers, but the Cleveland Browns on that October 2nd at 1 p.m. Week 5, we go to Raymond James Stadium to face against the Bucks. Week 5, week 6, back in Atlanta to host the San Francisco 49ers. Week 7, we go up to Cincinnati to face the Bengals. And then week 8, October 30th, we face the Carolina Panthers at home for Week 8 action at 1 p.m. Then we are staying at home Week 9 against the Chargers on November 6th. Then we have our primetime game, Week 10 against the Carolina Panthers at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Home again for the Chicago Bears on Week 11. Week 12, is the Washington Commanders that November 27th. Week 13 is the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. Week 14, we get a bye. So definitely this is kind of unusual for the Falcons to get a very late bye. But hey, we'll take it if we are definitely winning some games and looking promising for at least a playoff push. Week 15, we go to New Orleans to face the Saints. Week 16, we get a Christmas Eve present by facing off against the Baltimore Ravens that December 24th. Week 17, we go up against the Arizona Cardinals at home. In Week 18, we will host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for our final regular season game for the Atlanta Falcons. So, looking over the entire schedule, ladies and gentlemen, this schedule is somewhat tough. It really is because, again, you got the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, just right off the bat right here. Super Bowl champs, they're hyped up, they're fresh. They're everything. And, I mean, every team is still going to be fresh all the way up at least until about week 7, pretty much. Then after that, you're going to start having some, injuries, players just being tired, not really, getting into rhythm that much, and on and so forth. Or I might just be over-exaggerating them, it could be maybe week 10, week 11, before that struggle of, keeping players healthy and motivated is starting to really kick in, but who knows? But again, looking at the schedule right here, honestly, I'm looking at maybe 9 to 10 wins at most because, I'm not wanting to be like that just super bandwagoner fan that says 17-0 for sure. No, it's not going to be 17-0. I promise you, we're not the 07 Patriots. But I do think we are capable of some wins this season and potentially a playoff push. Maybe a super early playoff push, but still playoffs. And that is a moving step that I would honestly accept. This is, year 2 under this new regime. And you went with 7 wins on your first year with a pretty much horrible roster in the entire NFL. So now you got your guys that's over 6 foot for wide receiver core. And you got your future quarterback. You got your defensive players that you want. Now this is the time to where you got to at least have a winning record and at least smell the playoffs. I don't care if it's a first round exit in the playoffs. At least you made it, and this is the right step forward to start contending each and every single year in your division, which is completely filled with, Tom Brady, of course, the New Orleans Saints. Not so much the Carolina Panthers, but then there again, they did beat us at home last year. But still, stiff in the playoffs with a winning record in year 2. Again, guys, that will be a W in my book right there. And that just shows the rest of the league. Hey, look, if I'm Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot, hey, look, we know what we're doing here. It only took us just year 2 and we're already in the playoffs. Yeah, 2 middle fingers in the air right there. So what do you think? What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Do you think the Falcons will have a 10-7 record with at least that 7th seed going into the playoffs for middle of January? Or do you think the Falcons will need at least another year to kind of get their guys that they want and, really develop the ones that they have now. But ladies and gentlemen, that is all the time I have for today's episode. I sure hope you did enjoy it. If you did, make sure to like button wherever you are listening from. Again, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasting from. On Spotify, ladies and gentlemen, please leave me a 5-star rating. It sure does help out with the podcast. Share the podcast around. Get the downloads in. It really does help this podcast out in the content creation going behind it on the short for YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Until then, guys, Cole Morgan will catch you all later. Peace.